applies to all of our organizations, whether we are private sector or public sector, whether we're making tens of millions and want to make billions or not. But if we're operating at the level at which we are running an ordinary company, the question is, what does it take to get from there to extraordinary? I want to share with you something that is the best practices of staff engagement, and I will bet my last dollar that 95% of you have never seen this. And it's collected from the best clients that I've worked with across the world. It is so exciting, so let me get going. Can't wait to get there. Let's begin by laying the territory. Let's establish the narrative. Let's do the common language. What is staff engagement? As I look at the experiences of companies that have done it right and are doing it right or wrongly, I say staff engagement is qualitative, and I must read this, qualitative and quantitative measure of the relationships between an organization and its staff. The degree of staff members' emotional commitment to their organization and its goals. When you have full engagement, that which is important to the staff is important to the company as reflected in company values and policies and actions. Now, interestingly enough, that which is important to the company is also important to the staff as reflected in attitudes and thinking and performance. It's a symbiotic relationship. Staff delivers performance beyond requirements and receives benefits beyond income. Here's the good news. When you have an engaged organization, you can get 6 points on your margin. That's what research is indicating. 6, that's a big deal. You got a P&L, it's a big deal, right? Huge deal. It's bonus. It's dignity. Shareholder value 5 times a disengaged organization. And here's the one. They tend to quit. They tend to quit when they don't feel good. But disengaged staff, 5 times more likely to quit and move on. And you have to go through the process of getting more. You know, we hire them, they quit. We hire them, they quit. We spend so much time on that. The question is, when do you really battle down to building a body of experience to deliver what you promised to the shareholders and to the staff? The Gallup organization every year does a state of employment research across 100 and something countries in the world. And it's trying to track how engaged people are with their measures. And so here's what they found. In 2017, 22% of employees, 2 out of 10, are highly engaged. The 2 we saw stand up a while ago. Or the first 2 who sat. And 11% of them are actively disengaged. They don't want to be there. They disrupt the system. They complain, they moan. They do everything possible to disrupt the system because they're so angry. They're so just not fitting to be there. Now, you might think that the 11 is the greatest problem. The 1 out of 10 is not the greatest problem. That person is easy to identify in terms of percentages, and you can put the person on probation, you can give some additional training, you can take corrective action. Here's where corporations suffer in this engagement picture. It is the 67%. It's the 7 out of 10 who are pretty good people. You know, up and down, they're kind of in the middle. They don't give a hoot, but they don't cuss about it. They do what they need to get paid. Marginal performance that attracts marginal income. They go home and they're looking pretty decent, and it is in the heart of the 7 out of 10 that we get low productivity and poor performance across the organization. They're the critical mass of the organization. So it's not enough for us to look at the fire and go put it out. We need to see the embers that are waiting to crack open. And it's the average, the ordinary, the normal people who get by just okay. They're the ones that draw productivity down. Why? Because they have no hunger for excellence. They have no passion. They have no emotion. They don't want to be there. Their desire is not kindled with the widgets that we make or the name of the company or any of that. They just get a job and stay. Why? Why is this happening? I would contend that it's not because employees don't want to work. Most employees have good integrity and want to do a good job. Did you know that? Wait a minute. Most employees have good intentions and want to do a good job. And the reason I can say that is when one does a good job, it gives one dignity, and every employee wants dignity. So there's some systemic things that are leading us there, and I want to talk about a few of them. One of them, technology and automation are causing people to realize that one day they're likely to be replaced. And so they don't show great loyalty to the company because they're doing what they can to hold on to their jobs. And if they are driven by scarcity, they're likely to hold back. You send an IT person to be trained by the IT manager. And I've heard this kind of crazy thing. The IT manager is afraid to tell that person everything because he's afraid or she's afraid that the person will take the job. They're trying to defend themselves from having technology take over. And the truth of the matter is, the best thing that could happen to that IT manager is to do such a great job that he or she replaces himself and move on to something better. But the thinking is not right. Yeah? Now, it's not enough to say, we're a wonderful organization, we care about people. We're not going to automate all our processes. We could cut 10% out of the work expense rate in our company, but we're going to take care of the families, and we're going to create a job for everybody. You can't do it because your competitors, they are using automation. They're using technology, and if you should have a fat, sloppy organization, they will eat your lunch, breakfast, and dinner. They're waiting to chomp on you if they can get an advantage. So you must, in order to survive, keep up by being as efficient and as tight and as productive as possible, which means automating the sources of work that don't have to have human hands touch them. You see? So you can be nice to everybody and everybody gets eaten. Or you can keep pace with the changing technologies. By the way, here's something else that happens. Staff is starting to get a feeling that companies are not loyal to them. So they realize that the management is not loyal to them. It doesn't have their backs, and they feel, why should I give them mine? Here's a thing called pension. It used to be in the industrial age that someone would work at a company for 20 to 30 years, retire with a gold watch, and live happily ever after every day, every month, getting a portion of the salary until they die. Guess what? They don't want to do that anymore. People are living longer. And the specter for shareholders of taking care of somebody for the rest of life that could last to 95 to 100, companies don't really want to do that anymore. No, they don't publish it in the annual report, but the population is shifting and it is really a burden. So now there are creative ways of sort of working around that. And because of that, people are thinking, why should I stay here forever? It's the same as getting 2 years here and 5 years over there. Engagement, all affected. And then we have this really strange thing called millennials. They're different. When I used to hire people at P&G, if they told me that they spent 2 years in a company and 5 in another, I would regard them as lacking commitment. Today when I hire people, if they tell me they spent 10 years in a company, I think they're stuck culturally. How then do you in your organization maintain a building of experience and a repository of knowledge of the culture as opposed to just having fragmented understanding where people come and go? How do you continue the vibes of your company when people don't want to stay for very long and the millennials, they don't want to? I was doing a staff engagement workshop and the millennials in the group said, Mr. Day, let me tell you what we're thinking. You guys will work for 10 years and 20 years to get to the end. We want to start at the end and work backwards. And it put it so much into perspective. They don't want to wait until their children grow up to go to Paris and France, to go to Rome. They want to go to Rome, and they want to go to Barcelona, and maybe meet somebody over there and get married. Hello, millennials. And in case, and I'm down into the stuff now about dealing with the people who work for you. The vast majority of the working pool is here on into the future, millennials, until another generation takes over. You better know how to deal with them. They want it now. All of this says, well, we can't run the business just because we have good quality and a good marketing plan. That was in the industrial age. There are some global forces that are working against your success in your company, and we all need to have some strategies that work through those things, over those things, or around those things, or the longevity of organization is going to be in real trouble.